Well, I guess this is something totally different because I was not somebody who had a childhood dream. I was one of those many kids from East Greenwich, the daughter of working class, Western European, second generation immigrants who helped form this community. And I didn't really understand the power of this community until I was asked at some point whether or not I wanted to leave Indiana University. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I said, no, I really didn't want to. It was a better college, one whose name you would know more and be, wow, why wouldn't you go there? But the reason that I answered no was very simple, and it comes back to what I think is the most important thing that East Greenwich High School and the town of East Greenwich, and I have to say, the state of Rhode Island, provides for people, which is a sense of community and a sense of belonging. The reason I don't leave Indiana University Bloomington is because it reminds me so much of East Greenwich when I grew up here. It is a beautiful bubble. We kind of call it Oz in the Midwest. We call it the pink spot on the map of Indiana. For various reasons I can talk about later if anybody's interested. But I think the point is that when a community has the kind of sense of belonging that it gives to its children, that they can't help but succeed. I didn't realize that I would be a professor. When I went to Our Lady of Mercy, and I wanted to mention that because I think the first important thing that happens is in East Greenwich High School is when the kids from Eldridge and the kids from OLM come together. And I have to say, we were a little scared. We had heard about those non-Catholic kids. And we were concerned. And that was reified my first day when I guess I was allowed to take one advanced course because I came from OLM. They wouldn't let us take many advanced courses. But I wasn't allowed to take advanced English. And I walked into the room, and this was Mr. Vandermark, if anybody remembers him. And I walked in, and I walked into the room, I was late as usual. If anybody knows me, that's unfortunately too typical. There were 4 rows of girls from Eldridge. There were 4 rows of boys from Eldridge. And then I was by myself in the last row, in the first seat. And so I was a little frightened. But I can say that very soon, this became one of the most important communities for me, because that class really set me on a trajectory that was very important to me in terms of being challenged, in terms of, remember Mr. Vandermark always used to say to me, what's that green mold you have growing on your eyes, which referred to the fact that I wore makeup, which I guess was not really, and I think Mr. Ianazzi would occasionally say something to me about that. Although I have to say, I spent most of my time at East Greenwich High School making sure that I avoided Mr. Ianazzi, because my last name, having been sandwiched between the most popular kid in the class of 1970, my brother Francis Pescosolido, who was a bit of a notorious troublemaker, and then my brother coming after me, Robert Pescosolido, another one of those kids. I just thought if Mr. Ianazzi knew my last name, that I would automatically be given detention. So I just kind of get out on that, those kinds of things. But anyway, so yes, I did want to say that my secretary may have made a mistake in that I'm sure that the people in my class in 1970, I think the valedictorian was either Linda LaPlume or Dana Pickard, and I'm sure either one of them would be happy to hear that I was valedictorian. I wasn't. I was valedictorian at URI after that. And that was because I was so well prepared when I went, and I didn't know this, that's my point about, some people know they're destined to do wonderful things. I didn't. But East Greenwich High School prepared me so well that when I went to URI, the first semester, I had this idea that if I could maintain a B average, that would be success for me. And the first semester I got my grades, and I had a 4.0. And first of all, I called the registrar and asked if that was a mistake, because I didn't think so, because my first college grade was in an astronomy class. And the first exam I took, I got a D. And I thought to myself, you really have to bring what you learned at E.G. High right to college. And I felt, as part of the community from East Greenwich High School, that now I couldn't let anybody down. And so after that, I felt like it was set that I couldn't bring home anything less than an A, and that's how I ended up being valedictorian, not because I had this wonderful passion, not because I was destined for greatness as a great athlete, but because of the guilt that our university instilled in me and that East Greenwich High School prepared me for. And then I really am so proud to be from East Greenwich because we were this kind of really working class community. And I had no idea that what we were was so special or so different. I've come to sort of understand and believe that. But I got a hard lesson in that when I went to Yale. And I arrived, and the first day we were sitting with a bunch of people, and of course nobody knows anybody, and we're going around the table, and people were saying things like, well, where did you go to school? And people were like, oh, Princeton, oh, Dartmouth. And they got to my friend Lila, my first friend that I made at Yale, and she said BC. And they said, well, what's that? And I figured then I better not say URI, because I knew they weren't going to know what that was. So I said University of Rhode Island, and they were like, oh. And I was told that, that one, I must be very smart if I got in here from there. And number two, that the only Italians at Yale were either secretaries or on the janitorial staff. And it was that sort of sense of self and that sense of pride from East Greenwich that allowed me to say a phrase that I can't say in public, but just watch me. And I think that that's what this school really puts into people, which is if there's a challenge, you will reach it. And I wanted to sort of say how that continues, you know, this idea that you step up because you have the background, you have the tools that you were given at East Greenwich High School to do that. And so one day I was sitting at my desk and the phone rang and I picked it up and I heard, hello, this is Glenn Close. And I was like, yeah, really, like, who is this? Is this like Barry Spencer, my best friend from high school, like, you know, pulling my tail again? Yeah. No, she goes, no, really, this is Glenn Close. I just read your article in the American Journal of Psychiatry. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure you did. Read the American Journal of Psychiatry. She managed to convince me that, in fact, it was Glenn Close. And she said that she was going to do a talk at the Society for Neuroscience, and she wanted to incorporate my article, but she didn't really know how to do it. And so we kind of worked on that. That apparently went well, and she called back and said, I'm starting this organization, and I want it to be based on science. And so I'd like you to be the chair of my scientific advisory board. And it was one of those moments, it was one of those EGHS moments where it was, are you going to put up or shut up? I've been doing research on stigma of mental health and substance abuse for about 15 years, and I'm a basic National Institute of Mental Health research scholar. I'm not an interventionist, I'm not an advocate, but I felt I could feel it, you know, that it was put up or shut up, and bringing back that sense of East Greenwich and Rhode Island, I said, of course, I will help. And it's really stretched my ability to do things. So I really want to thank not only the high school, but the town and the state. I love being from Rhode Island. I think it's one of the things that I cherish most. And the other 15 people in Bloomington, Indiana that are from Rhode Island, we all know each other. In a town of 100,000, we have all found each other. So I want to start off by thanking my parents. I'm here because this was really important to my mother. She knew about this Wall of Honor. I didn't know about it. But she thought that this was something that would really make her proud. Not being elected into the National Academy of Medicine, founded in 1867 by Abraham Lincoln, but being on the East Greenwich Wall of Honor. And so that was something that I was really proud to be, that I'm really proud to be inducted into. That My parents, it was the same thing that you talked about. I mean, my parents were not teachers. My father had not graduated from high school. My mother did. We all knew we were going to college. It was like clear to us. I didn't know why I was going to college, but I knew I was going. And so I want to thank them because they were really such a force in my life. And that's been continued by my family, who are sitting over here. They are the energy that continues to propel me forward and ask myself, you know, whether I should do X or Y. And we have 3 generations here, and I miss my parents dearly, and my mother fairly recently passed. I also want to thank Mary Spencer, who I've mentioned, Mary Spencer Sargent. I'm sorry, I still have a hard time adding the married name, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have gotten through high school. So she was my best friend and continues to be one of the great friends of my life. You mentioned that we have East Greenwich High School graduates in China. I have proof of this. This is a picture from the junior prom of 1970. 3 of us in this picture are here. Myself, Mary Spencer, and my brother Frank. And behind that, my mate was David Henry, who is the minister in Shanghai teaching English. So there is evidence that we go on. And part of that was from the fact that my class started the tradition of breakfast. This is the perfect, when people ask me about high schools, I say the perfect size is the size of this high school. Because sometime in the junior year, we decided that we were all going to get together. Everybody in the class was invited. And we would make breakfast about 3 or 4 times a year at different people's houses. And my parents were the first to be willing to offer their house. And that continues today at our high school reunions. We'll be having one in about 2 years. And it's really a remarkable bringing together of people who really care about each other and take care of each other. So I wanted to thank the committee. I wanted to thank Bruce Mastraccio for taking on this and creating this wonderful honor. And I want to thank all of you for coming here and being part of this wonderful community. Thank you.